Hi there, it's Rocky here, back with another speed build video for you. Today's video is actually not going to be very much of a speed build. It's a pretty long video. We're going to be using terrain manipulation in this video in order to make a split level style home. What you'll see here is that we'll be sort of toying around with build for a little bit. What I ended up doing was sort of building the upper section first, just to sort of experiment around, as you can see here. I ended up realizing that it would be easier to start with the lower level, which is what I did. You'll see now that I end up going and building on the lower level first. I extend that height and then go across, and I end up manipulating my terrain underneath of the second level. You'll see that I'll smooth this whole section down here. And then we'll end up creating a diagonal room here. I sort of did this to give it a more modern shape. And as I was saying, I wanted to go with something very modern for this build, which is why I sort of went with the split level diagonal style. You'll see that I end up sort of creating a driveway here because we're going to end up putting a garage on this house. This is actually the first build that I've ever done with a garage. As long as I've been playing The Sims 4. I've been playing The Sims 4 since it first came out. I started on PC and I ended up switching over to PS4 because I like the controls better for PS4, which I've explained before in my previous video. You see that I sort of manipulated the terrain there, that way I could fit in some staircases. Of course, we're going to need staircases for this lot, as the Sims won't be able to just climb that hill on their own. I was very excited to do this build because, as I was saying, it's the first build that I did after we finally got terrain manipulation, and I was really excited to receive terrain manipulation on PS4. I'm sure that the PC users were as well, because it's something that we waited for a very long time, not having that in The Sims 4 as we had that in The Sims 3. I was also an avid player of The Sims 3, and I played that on console as well. I never actually played The Sims 3 on PC. I was saying, this ends up being a very long build because it's the first build that I ended up doing with terrain manipulation at all. So you'll see that I ended up making this home a 3-story home, even though I'm only going to consider it a 2-story home, because that lower level you'll see I'm considering to be a basement. You'll see that I'm smoothing out the driveway there, as I was saying before. That way we'll be able to sort of create a parking pad for a vehicle. Even though I don't actually end up putting a vehicle on that parking pad, I do put one in the garage. And what you'll see is that I'm adding those staircases, as I was saying before, that way they can get up to their front door there. I added the little L-shaped deck there. You'll see that I'll remove the fencing very shortly, however, because what I'll end up doing is adding fencing, as you see now, around the actual hill. That way no one can sort of fall down the hill. I felt that that would be the best thing to do for the safety of the Sims. Always want to keep your Sims safe, right? Now, one thing I did want to go ahead and note before we delve too far into this build is that there are some parts of this build that are sort of cut out. It was such a long build and there were so many segments. It was about 10 hours worth of footage that actually went into creating this build. So there were so many segments, I just didn't end up getting to compiling everything together quite right. So you'll see that some aspects of this build are missing, and I just wanted to go ahead and disclose that now. However, you will be able to see the entire floor plan in its final state in this video, which is the main purpose of the speed build, is sort of to see the floor plan that I ended up going with the terrain manipulation here. Now what you'll see is that I end up wanting a very modern look with this home, and that's what I was saying before. So I ended up using sort of floor-to-ceiling style windows. And you'll see right now that I'm creating the driveway area. What I'm going to do is fill that in with some concrete so that we have a nice uniform look. You'll see that I go around sort of the base of the hill here with rocks. When you create a hill with grass, it's automatically going to leave dirt there. So I sort of just wanted to have something at the base to look like it was finished per se. Now what I'm doing over here in this corner is sort of creating a flat enough area for them to be able to have a grill and a picnic table outside on that little ridge right there. Now as you can see, what we're doing is we are going ahead and trying to use what space that we have here, adding a simple little outdoor table. I'm going to try and find some room over there for a grill as well, but as you can see, this exterior space is kind of choppy due to the fact that I really wanted this yard to be very, very unique. I didn't want it to just be the flat lot that most homes are built on. I also really didn't want it to be an extremely, extremely tall house, like setting on top of a bank. So that's the reason why you see here that I sort of did it half built into that bank as opposed to sitting on top of it. What we end up doing here, as you can see, is going ahead and starting with some windows. I wanted this house to have a modern look, but I also sort of wanted it to have a retro look. That's why we ended up using those windows that have the horizontal slats in them like that. It gives more of a 70s vibe to me. It's something that I was really actually trying to go for with this house. I wanted it to look like it was sort of early to mid 70s up through possibly the 80s even, that it could have been constructed. We end up doing a very elaborate design, as you can see here on the second floor. What we're trying to do is create a lofted area for that upstairs space. I end up playing around with this a lot, and I actually want those two rooms to be separated from one another, even though you can see that they are both a loft. I've went ahead and extended that wall out over the loft so that those rooms still feel like they're separate spaces. That way they're lofted into their own corridors above the lower level. Now you can see here that I've created a couple of outdoor areas, and I'm actually beginning to start on roofing. I ended up putting in a glass strip on the roof over the lofted area so that some light actually shines all the way down the interior of the home into the lower level. Now, the roofing I ended up doing a black trim around, and this entire home I actually end up doing black contrast with. I do brick around this lower level down here, as you can see. And then I actually ended up just going with a very neutral color on the siding because, as I was saying, I did kind of want the home to look like it was not only 70s or 80s inspired, but I also wanted the home to be somewhat coastal inspired, which is why you can see that it has those open frontings on the above garage area. And that way you have an area that you can walk outside and enjoy the bracing breezes. You see there that I did put the family a minivan into that garage. I'm doing my work lighting now. I think all of us simmers end up doing this sort of quote-unquote work lighting where we use the saucer lights to end up doing the entire property so that we can actually see what we're doing while we're building before those final light fixtures get installed. So as you can see here, I'm moving pretty quickly, but what we're doing is we're going ahead and getting some of the permanent lighting installed. I've went ahead and made sure that all of my contrast on the outside is in fact framed in black. And what we're doing here is we're doing a very, very screwy layout of a kitchen. That was a little bit of the point with this entire property, actually, is that I just wanted it to be really, really off of the norm. I wanted it to be choppy in certain ways. I wanted it to be a property that was very, very not only unique to my save file, but also unique to The Sims in general. I mean, come on. How many people have put in a cornered island like this on the back side of the kitchen that's actually going to be mounted under that staircase? And as you can see here, I'm going ahead and starting to add in some of our kitchen cabinets into this back area right here. I'm actually kind of having to use free placement a little bit to get those outer cabinets into the area I want them. We are going to do a matching countertop to the island, and we're going to put in a simple fridge and stove under that area. Now, I haven't play tested this home, so I'm actually not quite sure that this ends up working. It's something that I may have to go back and sort of rebuild. They may not be able to access that from underneath those stairs. We're going ahead and doing some more detailing on the outside as well. I went ahead and started adding in some columns. Now we're going ahead and starting on the lower level here. I end up doing the office in a gray and yellow color scheme. I've bricked the garage with the same material that we used on the exterior of the lower level. You can see here we end up just creating a nice quaint little office here on this lower level. We actually do put a secondary living area down here as well as the laundry area, which you can see on the other side of the study there. As you can see, we did do a lower level bedroom as well. That lower level bedroom is, I guess, sort of meant to be an in-law bedroom or a guest bedroom. With it being on the lower level, it's something that your regular Sims that live in the home probably wouldn't want to access. As you can see here, we've finished a lot of the furnishing already. I'm just finishing up some of the flooring. You can see that we've actually went through and recolored those appliances, and we are now doing a dining area over here next to this main level bathroom. The main level bathroom was something that was actually interesting to create as well, because I had to cover that due to that glass roof being there. That way you couldn't see into the bathroom from the top of the home. I end up adding that to the lower level and then creating a nice little bar area down there along with the secondary living area. We're going ahead and doing a formal laundry room as well. I wanted this house to have a utilitarian space. This is the first home that I do believe I used the Laundry Day stuff pack in as well. So that's one reason why you see here that I created such an elaborate laundry area. Right now I'm just looking for some items to decorate the home with. We are putting on some finishing touches. However, as you can see, there are a lot of raw things that haven't been completed yet either. I still have some walling to finish as well as some flooring. We did, of course, put a full bath on that lower level as well to accommodate the bedroom that is down there. Now back up to the main level here, you can see that what we're doing is we're trying to incorporate some sort of small living area up here as well. The way the home ended up being laid out, it wasn't the easiest to create a living area, so I just put it opposite of the dining room over in this L-shaped corner. It actually ended up being the perfect spot to mount a TV right there. You're able to go down the basement stairs. They're right there. Add them in a nice stereo and some planters in this front entryway. And as I was saying, I'm mainly just working on finishing touches at this point. That was me accidentally going to manage worlds, go figure. Now, as you can see, this got a little bit out of order. I actually had more completed before I did this. However, I went back and re-included this section of the build, so it does show you a little bit more of the prerequisite work that I did before I got to that previous section. In this section, you can actually see where I went through and began adding the items on that lower level. Now, as you can see, the two upper bedrooms, this view actually gives you a little bit better idea of how those turned out. What you can see here is that I did one sort of red, one sort of green. They both have those separated loft areas like I was discussing before. We ended up doing that nice triple rug right there under that large staircase. Now, as you can see, it was very interesting the manner that I chose to floor the kitchen area because I had to sort of corner out those tiles to get the look that I was wanting. I did want this to feel like a very open space, so we did use a continuous floor all the way through that main level as well as the hallway on the upper level. And once again, this is just a little bit of that prerequisite work that I did before we got to furnishing that lower level. So as you can see here, you'll get to see me doing that bedroom on the lower level. I wanted this lower level bedroom to be very neutral and just very comfortable. That way it would be beneficial to young adult Sims, elderly Sims, or even teenage Sims. The only thing this room really wouldn't be suitable for is children, of course, as it does have a somewhat more sophisticated feel. Moving on from that bedroom, we actually begin to work on the office area. One thing I did forget to note before when we were overviewing this area is that I actually did put in a half bathroom in that study. You can see here that I'm working on some of my larger furnishing. Generally what I do when I'm doing larger furnishing is I sort of just jump around and I add in larger items to the areas I know that they're going to go. Then I go back and I decorate those areas, outfit them with flooring and walls based on the items that I chose to go in those areas. Now, as you'll see, this was my initial trial for that first level bathroom. I was placing it to see where I would want it to go and realized that that corner probably wasn't going to be the best place for it because it actually takes away the effect of the lofting when added into that corner. As you can see here, this is where I've decided to move that bathroom over to next to that stairwell that leads into the lower level. This is where I noticed the problem that you were able to see into that bathroom due to that lofted area, so I had to kind of get creative and close in the top of that, which actually did leave me a little bit of characteristic space right there on top of that to add in some extra items to those rooms. You can see here that we're working on the red upper level bedroom. This is the one that would actually be to your left when exiting the top of the stairwell. Now, as you can see here, I'm adding some decorative details to that bedroom. What we're actually going to go ahead and start working on now are some of the other finishing decor items for this second level. We're going to go ahead and finish out a couple of these bathrooms as well. As you can see there, I ended up actually adding a full wall mirror in front of that master bathroom. The interesting thing about that bathroom is I referred to it as a master. In a way it is, however it does serve both of those upper bedrooms. It's just more directly attached to that red bedroom. We have moved back downstairs now. We are working on this common area that is below the stairs. So I actually wanted a sort of retro feel for that area, which is why we did the turquoise walls and checker floors. As you can see, we just did a small seating area there out in front of that lower level bar, and then we have quite a nice size laundry room there. Now, with us having that bar there, I actually wanted some type of table down here, so we did go ahead and sort of create a little bar table down there as well. And as you can see here, I'm just sort of working on finishing details for that lower level. I actually ended up adding a TV and fireplace into the office to serve for that waiting area that is in the office. As you can see here, I was having to work with free placement some in order to get this cabinet bank correct on the back side of the kitchen above the island there. You can see I'm sort of adding some finishing touches into the living room and the rest of the home, going ahead and getting some accent tables in there, some lamps. And right now we're sort of in the final stage of building the actual main house. We do end up doing a little surprise in the backyard after the main house is completed. That'll come after the decorating portion is finished. As you can see here, I'm actually beginning to add a small seating area to this front as well. That'll be in front of that indoor tree that we have right there. And I actually did something interesting there, as you can see. I used a long table to fill in that space. However, I only did a dining for two. Due to the other six stools that are at that island, you will actually have accommodations for 8 Sims in this home. You'll be able to sleep 2 Sims in the downstairs bedroom, 2 Sims in either of the upper bedrooms, and then you also have a couch that Sims can sleep on. So, as far as sleeping accommodations, I believe I lied. That's actually only 7. We could always add an 8th, however. Now, as you can see here, I'm starting to get to that surprise that I was talking about in the backyard. So what we're doing with this property is something that I actually had also never done before. As you can see, we already have some of the landscaping done. I kind of skipped over that. But what we're doing is we're creating, like I said, an outdoor utility shed, which is just something that I did new for this property. I hadn't done that before. I went ahead and just gave it the same siding and inspiration as the actual main house itself. However, you'll see that we end up doing quite a lot with this space. Now, by this point, as you can see, I have already completed most of the exterior work, including the pool covering. The pool has already been put in at this point and everything, which you will get a better view of in just one moment. Now, as you can see here, I'm sort of cheating with this pool, and I'm moving these dividers around to create an enclosed pool area along with that fence, which I thought looked very nice. That may be opinionated. Some people might not like what I did with that enclosed pool area. Others may. Feel free to copy it if you do like it. You can see what we're doing here is we're just putting a flower arranging table as well as, I believe, a woodworking bench or an easel into this outdoor shed. So it's kind of like a shed slash studio. This shed will actually be a lot more beneficial when eco lifestyle is available for everyone, because what we will have with this shed is the ability to work completely off of your own property. They'll be able to use the maker career, and they'll be able to create things and sort of live a freelance life off of this property based on the equipment that I've included in that shed. Now I'm just working on some finishing touches with the property. I ended up deciding to put a higher height on the lower level, which in turn changed the shed, so I had to go back and add a taller door to the shed, and I tweaked a few things the way they were placed inside of the shed so that I could incorporate a small seating area. You'll see that I do go through and add some pool lights. I would say we just have sort of an average size residential pool in the back behind this property, which can be accessed from that lower level. Now, one thing that I did end up trying to do was sort of flatten out an area for a fountain. So you'll see me sort of working with this area to try and put in a side fountain. That's what we did end up doing successfully, as you can see here. And then I actually end up surrounding that in some foliage just to be an additional part of the landscaping on this property. I actually like the way that turned out with that small little hill right there. It does just make it look like it was carved naturally into the property. And I sort of went AWOL with the landscaping around this. I just put a ton of flowers all in behind it. Also did like the hedges there on the back row. I would say this is one of my more elaborate properties that I've done as far as landscaping goes. I really do like how the overall property turned out, including the shed and the landscaping for the rest of the property. As you can see here, we're basically wrapping it up, and this is sort of what we end up with. This is the final design. Basically, all of the final decorating is being done in these scenes. You can see the layout of the two upper rooms there. You can see the layout of the first floor here. You can see the outer decks. And this basically is where this build ends. As you can see, the overall layout of the property, we're just adding some roof sculptures, and that's it. We're just going to assign some traits here really quick. And last but not least, I actually did add a photo montage here at the end just so that you could see the build a little bit more in depth, since there were a few pieces of the build itself missing. I hope that everyone enjoyed this build, like I said, and there will be more to come soon. Thank you. Oh, thank everyone for watching this video. I actually did this video quite some time ago, so forgive me for some of the footage being lost. Please like, comment, and subscribe for more speed builds on my channel. Thank you.